Hello, it's the late 90s, and since the end of the Cold War, the National Security Agency has seen failure after failure. The first World Trade Center bombing in '93, the attack of the USS Cole off Yemen's coast, the bombing of the African embassies in Kenya and Tanzania, 3 times the size of the CIA and many times more secretive and expensive to run. The NSA has wasted American tax dollars and the American people's time. By the close of the decade, the NSA is building up to the biggest failure of the American government since Pearl Harbor. But it didn't have to be that way. When Thomas Drake blew the whistle on the waste, fraud, and abuse by the NSA on the American taxpayers, he was showing, whether on purpose or by neglect, 9/11 was an inside job. Instead of improving data filtering methods, the NSA started collecting all data. Through the tactic of what they call brute force, in search of key patterns in data, the NSA practices illegal wiretapping, satellite surveillance, monitoring every electronic correspondence conceivable, interception of microwaves and radio waves, data farming from undersea cables. The terrorists are now using civilian methods, so everyone becomes a suspect. Now enter Thomas Drake.
Secrets that must be protected, but not when it comes to government wrongdoing and illegalities, and when in fact they're endangering the safety of our own country.
His first day on the job at the NSA was 9/11, and he repeatedly refers to his experience at the NSA as, and I quote, being exposed to Pandora's box of illegality and government wrongdoing on a very significant scale, saying it's the very thing Eisenhower warned us about. In fact, according to Thomas Drake, when it was passed in October 2001, the NSA was already in violation of the Patriot Act. And not only was Thomas Drake witness to massive waste, fraud, and abuse, but also to the NSA's blatant disregard for the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act and the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court it created. Its prime directive: you do not spy on Americans without a warrant. Now, the Bush administration claimed exigent circumstances justified by 9/11 and gave the NSA carte blanche to do whatever the hell they wanted to do to whomever they wanted. And according to Drake, the NSA now began to regard the United States as a foreign nation for the purpose of dragnet blanket electronic surveillance for the very hush-hush top-secret program Stellar Wind, which also involved working in tandem with America's biggest telecommunications companies. Seeing the Fourth Commandment so callously trampled on, Thomas Drake decided to exercise the First Amendment. But he was turned back by his superiors, and according to the legal counsel to the NSA, it had all been approved by the White House, and it was all legal, because the NSA was the executive agent. At that moment, Thomas Drake knew he had been complacent and an accomplice to the subversion of the Constitution of the United States. So he blows the whistle within the NSA and to 2 9/11 congressional investigations, as well as a Department of Defense Inspector General audit investigation. But Drake also contacts a reporter of the Baltimore Sun, and he began to share unclassified information regarding Project Trailblazer. Drake exposed the fact that Trailblazer, a product of the defense contractor stranglehold on American politics, wasn't necessary in the first place. NSA Director Hayden's love child with the military-industrial complex was a knee-jerk reaction to the past decade of the blossoming digital age, in which the NSA found itself going blind and deaf due to the massive influx of information. Now, what to do with the yottabytes and the petabytes of information that had already been collected was solved prior to 9/11. This solution was called Project Thin Thread, and it was legal. Thin Thread solved the fundamental issue the intelligence community faces: how to maintain the fidelity and integrity of the data collected and how to make sense out of it at the same time. Thin Thread costs only a few million dollars to develop, while the ultimately over-budgeted spy machine Trailblazer, which replaced the Thin Thread, spent in the end billions and billions of taxpayer dollars. Because of the articles printed in the Baltimore Sun and an alleged connection to articles printed in the New York Times, Thomas Drake was charged under the Espionage Act of 1917 by the Obama administration. Facing 35 years in prison, 5 counts were brought before the court regarding his alleged retaining, not leaking, of national defense information with the purpose to disclose this information to people not authorized to receive it. Eventually, all 10 felony charges were dropped, and Mr. Drake pled guilty to a minor misdemeanor for, and I quote, exceeding authorized use of a government computer, which is like using Facebook too much while you're at work, according to Jesselyn Raddick, Mr. Drake's attorney. Drake was sentenced to a year of probation, having turned down 2 earlier plea offers. The plea bargain marks a major defeat for the Obama administration, which targeted Drake as a part of its crackdown on government whistleblowers, says Democracy Now! Jesselyn Raddick also adds, "It's a way to create terrible precedent to go after journalists and a backdoor way to create an official secrets act. It's also meant to send a very chilling message to government employees not to speak out about fraud, waste, abuse, and patent illegality." But the work Thomas Drake started isn't over. The NSA is still at it, covering its tracks, creating a cloud of private information. The agency is currently building a 1 million square foot data collection and processing center in Bluffdale, Utah. There's another one going up in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, home to part of the Manhattan Project. There is a legal way to go about this. FISA, the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, has been amended 5 times since 1978. But the NSA insists on going about it in the shadiest way possible. Spending billions of dollars of taxpayer money to spy on the taxpayers never seems to get old for these guys. Lucky for us, they're not very good at what they do.